my sweet children of God. Hope all is well with you today. We know what this is. It's a flashlight. Well, our story today talks about a time when light was needed. But, of course, in Jesus' time, they didn't have flashlights. No, they had lanterns. And the lanterns were like our candles, but they were little vessels that had oil in them and the wick. So when the wick got wet, they'd light it and then it would light up. Now, maybe some of your grandmas may have a lantern, an oil lamp that she used maybe when she was young like me. When I was young. My grandma had one. So today's story is all about being ready and being a light. So let's see what Jesus has to say. Jesus is going to tell us the story, and he's telling us that we have to be ready. And I'm going to read it from our children's Bible before we begin. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. The Lord be with you, and with your spirit. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Glory to you, O Lord. And it's called The Wise and Foolish. If your parents were listening, it would be The Wise and Foolish Virgins. But it's like a wedding. And the virgins would be like today, bridesmaids. So in our book, they're called The Wise and Foolish Girls, because that's what they are. They were girls that were bridesmaids, and they had to wait for the bridegroom to come. So let's listen to what Matthew has to say. Jesus tried to make his followers understand that they must be ready at all times for his return, for they would never know when it might happen. He told them a story. Once, 10 girls were waiting to join a wedding feast. 5 were foolish, and while they brought lamps, they had no spare oil. The other 5 were sensible and brought extra oil. It was late, and the girls fell asleep, for the bridegroom was long in coming. Suddenly at midnight, a cry rang out, for the bridegroom was coming. Excitedly, the girls went to light their lamps, but those of the foolish girls began to flicker because they had no oil, extra oil. Their oil ran out. So what did they do? They begged for more oil, but the wise girls replied, "No, for there's not enough for all of us. You will have to go and buy some more." And off they went to join the bridegroom and went in with him to the feast. By the time the foolish girls returned with lighted lamps, the door was shut. Though they knocked loudly, they were told, "You are too late. I don't even know who you are." Jesus told his disciples, "Always be ready, because you do not know the day or the hour of my return." Now, Jesus is talking about heaven and how we're all going to get there someday. Now, what does all that mean? It means that we have to be the light that shines for other people to see God in us, to see Jesus in us. We have to have lots of patience while we're waiting. You know, if you've been waiting for your birthday to come along, you're all excited, and you think Mom has everything ready, and there's going to be surprises, and then, something happens. Maybe Mom is called out to work or to do an errand, and it gets delayed. Your party can't happen because maybe somebody got sick, had the flu or something. So you're disappointed. But if you have patience, everything's going to work out again. And that's the story that Jesus is trying to tell us, the parable that Jesus was trying to used to tell us to be ready and have lots of patience while we're waiting for something. We're waiting for God to tell us how we're supposed to let our light shine so others can see Him in us. So I have a little story from our friends, the Berenstain Bears, that we read about at Thanksgiving. And this book is called Patience, Please. Oh, do you have patience? Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. And I have to remember patience, patience, patience. Okay, here we go. Brother, sister, and Honey Bear enjoyed helping Mama and Papa in the garden. There was a fine vegetable garden in the backyard, as well as beautiful flower beds all around the Bear family's tree house. Look at that beautiful tree house and all of the flowers and plants. Oh, isn't that pretty? Well, the cubs helped plant the seeds, water, and weed. They also helped pick the veggies when they were ripe. One spring morning, as the family worked in the garden, Papa posed a question. "Cubs," he said, "would you like to have gardens of your very own?" "You mean we can have our own plots of land?" Brother asked. "That's right," said Papa. "And we can grow whatever we want," said Sister. "Of course," said Papa. "You'll have to do all the work yourselves. It will teach you self-reliance." "Yay," said Honey. Do you know what self-reliance means? It means that you can do things on your own and you don't need anyone to help you. And sometimes when we grow up, that's very important. "That's a good idea, Papa," said Mama. "It will help teach the cubs patience, too. You have to be very patient when helping things grow." Papa and Mama guided the cubs in selecting plots of ground for their gardens. The cubs laid them out with stakes and strings. Then the whole family went down to Rough Grizzly's hardware store to buy seeds. It was hard to select which vegetables to grow. There were so many different kinds. Brother chose cucumbers, tomatoes, celery, lettuce, and parsley. Sister picked carrots, squash, radishes, potatoes, and peas. Honey loved flowers. She stood gazing at the pretty pictures on the seed packages for a long time. Suddenly, she grabbed a big handful. Oh, look at her. She looks so happy because she loves flowers and she thinks they'll be very pretty in her garden. The next day, the cubs set to work. It was hot, hard labor. Brother and sister were very organized. First, they turned up the soil with shovels and worked in the fertilizer. Next, they made neat rows, dug small holes to drop the seeds in. Then they made signs from the seed packages to mark the end of each row. Finally, they got out the hose and gave the gardens a good soaking. It did require a lot of patience. Honey went about things a bit differently. She tore the tops off her flower seed packages and stood in the middle of her plot. She closed her eyes, held up her arms, and spun around and around. The flower seeds flew everywhere. Oh, look at the joy that she's having, just letting her flower seeds fly so she can have flowers wherever they grow. Huh? Brother and sister were a little startled. "Honey," said sister, "I don't think that's going to work. You need to till the ground before you plant the seeds." "Pretty flowers," said Honey, pointing at a picture on one of the empty packages. "Yes, but," began Brother. Honey ran off chasing a butterfly. Brother and sister just shrugged. Oh, she's young, huh? The next day, Brother and sister checked their gardens to see if anything was sprouting, but it was too soon. They went out the next morning, too. There was nothing doing. Every day they checked their plots, but nothing seemed to be happening. The cubs grew impatient. just like the foolish girls at the wedding, not having enough oil for their lamps, not being ready, and not having enough patience to prepare in case the bridegroom was delayed. "So when is our garden going to sprout?" they asked Mama and Papa. "You have to be patient," said Mama. "Have faith that what you have planted will grow in God's good time." "Seems to me I remember lines in the Bible about that," said Papa. "See how the farmer waits for the precious fruit of the earth, being patient about it until it receives the early and late rains. You also be patient." "That's from the book of James," said Mama. The cubs sighed, wishing things didn't take so long. The next day Brother and Sister wearily trudged out to check on their gardens one more time. All along each row little green shoots were pushing up. "Mama, Papa," they called, "come, look at our gardens are growing. Look at the green little shoots. Ah, patience, patience, and waiting, waiting for something wonderful to happen." Honey's garden was filled with beautiful flowers. Big ones, little ones, red ones, pink ones, yellow ones, and blue ones. They were gorgeous. "Oh, look at her beautiful flowers." "Well, honey," said Papa with a chuckle, "God certainly made your garden grow. You've shown us the power of faith and trust along with patience." "Pretty flowers," said Honey happily. A dove cooed in a nearby tree. "Flowers appear on the earth. The season of singing has come. The cooing of doves is heard in our land." Mama quoted from the Song of Songs in the Bible. "I hear the dove and I see the flowers," said Papa. "Now how about a little singing?" He got down on one knee and sang to Mama, "My wild bearish rose, the fairest flower that grows." "Really, Papa," said Mama, blushing, "what will the cubs think?" But the cubs giggled in delight. The end. Oh, patience. Do you have patience like that when you're waiting for something good to happen? And are you ready? Well, that's what Jesus was trying to tell us in the Bible today, in his story of Matthew, the parable of the bridegrooms and the bridegroom rather, and the bridesmaids. Just like a wedding today, a bride will have bridesmaids, and not always 10, that's a lot, but in the story, some were very smart and planned ahead of time for something that might be delayed. And they were wise to do that. And the other girls, well, they just brought what they had and didn't plan ahead in case something else happened. So we have to pray for good things. And that's what Jesus wants us to do. Remember, we want to be the light that shines for God through the world. And how do we do that? You know how to do that, I'm sure. We know it by saying our prayers, by being kind to one another, by helping out when we can, by watching how we live. For example, telling the truth. Let's say Mom says, clean your room, and you go and do it. Watch how we speak outside, the language we use, things like that. But I'm sure those are things you already do, because I know you're sweet children of God. So you do all of those wonderful things already. And you ask God to help you when you say your prayers. So you are the light. And you don't have flashlights on hand with you, but if you want to go and get one, you could come back and join us in again. And we're going to end with a little song that will be our prayer. Oh, and guess what it is? What do you think? Well, this little light of mine. Okay, here we go. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Well, my friends, until next time, hugs and prayers. Miss Terry, I'm sending a hug to you. Love you all.